What would you do if I sang out of tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me? Lend me your ears and I'll sing your song. I will try not to sing out of key. Oh, all I need is to get. I say I'm gonna get high. Oh, yeah.
When you're a little kid, you're a little bit of everything. Artist, scientist, athlete, scholar. Sometimes it seems like growing up is a process of giving those things up, one by one. I guess we all have one thing we regret giving up. One thing we really miss. That we gave up because we were too lazy. Or we couldn't stick it out. Or because we were afraid.
He's gonna go long! What a pass! Nice spiral, Joe. All right, come in, huddle up.
The 68 Jets.
All right.
We had all the moves. And there wasn't an imaginary team in the league that could beat us.
Okay. It's late in the fourth, ball's on the sixth. And Oakland's up by 3. Again.
That would be Don Maynard. In Paul's case, the only wide receiver in pro football who was allergic to grass.
I want you to slant left, button hook, and cut the post. Okay?
Who am I?
You're Emerson Boozer. You provide vital pass protection.
Blocking again? Well, why do I always gotta block?
Because you're good at it.
Ready, break! And the crowd's going wild.
Okay.
89, 235, hut, 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 hut. Joe Willie Namath fades back to pass. He's looking for a receiver. And Maynard breaks free in the end zone. What a block by Boozer. He's all alone. Scrambling. He's wide open.
Better get a move on.
And so the AFL championship game of 1968 came to a grinding halt. In front of 60,000 screaming fans, the league's leading passer had to go to his weekly piano lesson. Ronald Hirschmuller. He was practically a legend in our neighborhood. He always practiced 4,700 hours a week. He always played everything perfectly. His mother always bragged about him to everybody else's mother. I hated Ronald Hirschmuller.
There, finished. How was that?
Nobody plays scales like you, Ronald.
Do you want me to play them again? Do you want me to play them faster? I can play them faster.
Go home, Ronald.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll see you next week, of course.
Uh-huh.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Carples.
Good afternoon, Ronald.
Oh, and good afternoon to you also, Kevin.
See you, Ron.
Ronald.
Oh, yeah, I keep forgetting.
Mrs. Carples. She wasn't exactly a poster child for the American Lung Association, but you could say what you thought to her, which was kind of neat.
So how you been this week?
You?
We had the same week. Okay, let's get you warmed up, huh?
There was one thing I hated as much as I hated Ronald Hirschmuller. It was scales. Why did I do this to myself?
Keep going. song sounded pretty good to me. I'd guess you must have practiced...
This was it. Maybe she'd overshoot.
About 42 minutes this week.
What? No. Come on, it was longer than that. I swear.
I round off to the nearest minute.
Oh. But you said it sounded pretty good.
Pretty good? That's not the same as good. You know, Kevin, I'm going to start to feel guilty for taking your parents' money if you don't put a little more effort into this. Have you thought about what you'd like to play for the recital this year?
The recital? It's time for the recital again? Already?
Uh-huh.
I think I'm busy that night.
I haven't told you what night yet.
I mean, I'm probably going to be busy that night. See, I'm in junior high now, and there's a lot of demands for my time.
Last year's excuse was much better. Did your uncle ever pull through?
No, really. I've got a lot to do besides piano, that's all. You know, I'm not like Ronald Hirschmuller.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's up to you.
So, Kevin, how was your lesson?
Okay.
You know, I bumped into Mrs. Hirschmuller in the supermarket today, and she told me how excited Ronald was about playing in the recital this year. I didn't know this year's recital was coming up. Did you know this year's recital was coming up?
Well, yeah.
Are you going to be playing in it?
Well...
Mom, recitals are for wusses. Of course he's going to play.
Wayne, there is nothing feminine about playing the piano. And even if there was, I think it's good that Kevin is in touch with that.
Look, I'm not going to be playing in the recital anyway. I already told Mrs. Carpels that.
Why not?
I just don't feel like it. Look, I'm not like Ronald Hirschmuller.
Well, that's too bad, because, you know, I bumped into Mrs. Carpels at the supermarket today, too.
Geez, Mom, did you bump into any food?
And she said that you have real talent.
What?
She said you didn't practice enough, but that you have real talent.
Real talent? Okay, hold it. Act casual. Get some more information. Casually.
When did she say that?
Well, we were in the produce section. I was picking out some tomatoes for the spaghetti sauce.
Mom.
Well, that's when she said it. That you had real talent.
Jeez, real talent.
And she said it right in front of Mrs. Hirschmuller, too.
A key bit of information. But there was still one thing I wanted to know.
Well, did she say I'm as good as Ronald Hirschmuller?
Well, no, I don't think she said that.
Isn't Ronald Hirschmuller, like, really, really good?
You as good as Ronald Hirschmuller. A fat chance.
Wayne. Now, no one expects you to be as good as Ronald Hirschmuller, honey.
Look, the only reason he's so good is because he practices all the time. I never practice, so I'd be better than him.
Wait a minute.
Did I just say that?
What do these lessons cost me?
$10, I think.
$10? Is that $10 a year or $10 a week?
A week?
I see. And your teacher says you never practice.
Yeah?
And you say you never practice.
Well, I mean, I don't really mean never practice it.
And your teacher says you have talent, but the reason you're no good is because you don't practice. Am I getting that right? Is that what we're saying here?
I guess.
Well, then, I'd say one of two things is possible. Either you start to practice like this Ronald Hirschmuller I hear so much about, or you're going to just quit the damn piano. It's your choice.
Funny thing was, I didn't want to quit the piano. Mrs. Carpels thought I had talent. But what if I didn't? What if somebody else, like, say, Ronald Hirschmuller, was just always better?
Very nice, Ronald. I'll see you next week.
Adieu, Mrs. Carpels. That's farewell in French.
Goodbye, Ronald.
Kevin.
For Jacques.
Okay, Jacques, hit the bench. We got lots of work to do here. And if you try to speak French to me, I swear I'll break all your fingers. What's the matter?
Miss Carpels.
What?
I know this lesson's already paid for and all, but, it really doesn't make any sense to do it. Because, well, I'm quitting piano.
You're quitting piano?
Yeah.
Well, would you mind telling me why?
I don't know it. I don't practice enough. It's a waste of money.
Well, whose fault is that?
I don't know. Look, I'm not going to be like Ronald Hirschmuller.
Okay.
Just, I'm never going to be that good. Even if I practiced all the time. He's just more talented than me.
Oh, don't give me that. You have more talent in your little pinky than Ronald Hirschmuller has in his whole body. Why, that kid's a machine. You have a feel for music, and you know it. But that's not the point. Who's better, who's worse? I mean, that's not music. That's not what it's about. Sit down.
Huh?
Sit down. I want you to play something for me. Pachelbel Canon in D major. It's my final request. Keep going.
All of a sudden, as I started to play, it was like there was electricity flowing through my veins. Suddenly, I could do no wrong.
There. That's what it's about.
And so I made my decision. I would sacrifice. Endure humiliation. Deprivation. Grave physical danger. But I would play Canon in D major like Mrs. Carpels had never heard it before. Like the world had never heard it before. Like Ronald Hirschmuller had never heard it before. All right, go ahead. Take a guess.
You must have practiced a good 7 hours.
Ha! A mere 6.5.
I don't know. I didn't really keep track.
Well, there was quite a difference.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, the fish are jumping. Cast out your line.
So, it sounded pretty good, huh?
No. It sounded good. It's just a shame your parents can't hear you play it at the recital.
You got a bite. Now play out a little more line.
Well, I don't think it's good enough for the recital.
Kevin, you're playing this piece well enough right now for the recital, and you still have a whole week to practice.
Well, I don't know.
It's up to you. I can't force you to do it. Okay.
Too much. Start reeling in.
Well, if you think I'm ready.
I do. You're ready. Play in the recital. Pretty please with sugar on top.
Smart fish.
Well, okay.
Oh, good. All right, now, let's see if we can polish this up a little. Kevin, I'm glad you decided to stick with it.
So this was it, the dress rehearsal. And I was ready. Leave it to Ronald Hirschmuller to actually get dressed up for a dress rehearsal.
Good afternoon, Ronald.
Hello, Kevin.
Nice suit.
Thank you.
Did you practice this week?
More than you, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure. So what are you playing?
Canon in D major.
Now, I've never actually been hit by a ton of bricks, but...
What? Canon in D major.
But you can't play that. See, I'm playing that.
So?
So, don't you know any other songs?
I know lots of other songs. But not as well as I know Canon in D major.
All right, let's everybody take your seats.
How could she do this to me? She must have known.
What I'll do first is welcome all your parents to this year's recital. So, blah, 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 welcome. Now, I would like to introduce our first student, Mr. Ronald Hirschmuller, who will be playing the Pachelbel Canon in D major. Ronald.
But wait a minute. What was it Mrs. Carpels had said? This wasn't about competition. It wasn't about who's better or who's worse.
Ronald, play now. Bow later.
It was about music. And anyway, maybe Ronald would screw up. Maybe he'd screw up royally. Maybe the phone would ring. Maybe a fire alarm would go off somewhere. Maybe someone would drop a 10-megaton bomb on the roof. China had him now, didn't they? Okay, sure, it sounds perfect now, but how long can he keep this up? God, you know I don't ask for much. Okay, God, okay. I'll never swear. I'll give my allowance to the needy, and I won't use that snotty tone of voice with my mother, okay? Okay? Just one lousy mistake. Ah!
All right, now take a little bow, Ronald. Ronald, sit down.
This was a disaster. Ronald had played his piece, my piece, perfectly.
Now, I would like to introduce our second student.
Good. I needed time to think.
Kevin Arnold.
Now? Back to back? What was she trying to do to me?
Kevin will also be playing the Canon in D major, but I think you'll find it interesting to hear how two different students interpret the same piece of music. Kevin? Remember, just keep going.
Suddenly, as I started to play, I thought, maybe I could do it. Maybe I could still play it better than Ronald. After all, I had a feel for music, right? If I could just get through it without making a mistake. Or even say, if I made one little mistake. But then it happened. I started to feel their eyes boring into me. It was like a chain reaction. I couldn't stop it. It just got worse and worse. It was the piano recital from hell. And then it was over.
Hey, you had a little trouble. Okay, so you choked, but it's no big deal. You'll do better tomorrow night.
Yeah.
You know, it's still not too late to change your mind.
Mom, I told you yesterday. I just don't feel like playing in the recital. I just don't want to take lessons anymore.
But you practice so hard.
It's no big deal.
I just don't understand what...
Mom, I'm just sick of piano, okay? Dad said I didn't have to take lessons anymore if I didn't want to. Can I go out for a while? Paul and Doug are waiting for me.
Well,
Thanks.
Kevin. Don't stay out too late.
Okay.
So, Joe, you predicted the Jets would beat the mighty Colts, and here you are, the game's MVP. Well, how does it feel?
Oh, it feels great, Jim. I mean, I can't describe it. It's like being on top of the world. Hi, Mom.
Well, looks like it's getting a little dark in here in the locker room, so I guess we'll have to wrap up.
Yeah, it is getting kind of late. I better start heading back. You coming, Paul?
Oh, no, not yet. Emerson wants to be interviewed.
Okay. See you guys later.
Oh, hey, Joe. Any last thoughts for our TV audience?
Yeah. Tell them it's a night I'll never forget.
I never did forget that night. I remember the light glowing from Mrs. Carpel's window. And I remember the darkness falling as I sat out there on the street looking in. And now, more than 20 years later, I still remember every note of the music that wandered out into the still night air. The only thing is, I can't remember how to play it anymore.